I don't have, like, I'll probably get you either way. Those two marks are the ones I'm okay. So if you could just stay in that. Sure. Yeah, yeah, progress. What was your name? What was your name? Alex. Basically looking for a partner. Oh my goodness. Oh really?
So mine's about finding people who like to have a financial literacy. People are interested in credit card trading. Yeah. So put that on your profile. And you can about 7 Yeah, it'd be a dating website based around it, and then also a resource website where people can find out to get information.
It's going is that, how's it going? There's no good, that is cool. So we just do that. Yes. Swipe left.
I still haven't done the setting, which
my son was advanced algorithms to really narrow down the list of candidates and take that list of how many companies for an hour, he would say yes, no, we need at the end of the hour, you have
How's it going?
oh well.
What did you pitch it today? Sweet. I have your deck. What's your company?
Booklet.
Booklet. Got it.
So you would have to go through the house.
Sounds like a lot. It doesn't take long. You see a picture of something?
So is it mostly based on visual appearance?
Right. Well, a lot of it. The initial filter to get it down to it. So I mean, very
Hello. Doesn't work.
No, I just
oh wow.
Did you? It's a lot more. We have a good chat.
My wife,
Thank you. I already went to the back cave.
How do I connect this?
it should auto. Oh, app AirPlay.
This one?
Maybe it's co-working.
It's off?
And then it'll give you a little.
Are you sure?
Oh yeah, no, you've done it before.
Do my coworker Haley ask to speak?
I have no idea, but I will ask.
Who?
John.
I already talked to him.
And what did he
He
say?
said he doesn't know. He says that I goes here.
Oh, I don't remember him yet. But if you want to,
No, yeah, I'll do it.
stab her in the back. I'm kidding. That was a joke.
No.
That was a joke. That was a
I
joke.
just want to make sure that I wasn't stepping on her toes.
Okay, sounds good.
You need a mic?
Yes, sir. So, that would be great, just in case.
Testing.
Testing, nine.
Testing.
You're good.
So what did you do in here?
Hello? Can people at the back hear me? Sweet. Sweet. Awesome. You're good.
And I have him hooked up with the sound as well.
That's fantastic.
And I just started the live stream maybe 5 or 6 minutes ago.
Thank you, man.
Yeah. Anything else you need?
No? Thank you. You're good.
All right. Yeah, you guys have fun.
You're the best. Should I dance? Yes, sir.
Is there going to be a break? Sorry. After the keynote, you talk, is there going to be a break or are we just straight into it?
Jump right into it. Do you want to pitch first?
I do.
Okay. You're first. Screw it, I'll start. Hello. Welcome, everyone. We're going to start in 3, 2, 1. Boom, we started. Awesome. Welcome to the TechMap Co-Founder Meetup. Whose first time is it over here? Too many to count, man. I can't count past 10. Okay, thank you very much. Welcome. How did you guys find out about this? Meetup.com? Meetup. Or Marc Nathan. Meetup or Marc Nathan? Marc. Okay. He's like a meetup. Anyone else? Someone else? Meetup. Cool.
My father-in-law told my wife who told me.
Wow. Can we pay him now? Cool. Well, everyone, welcome. For those of you coming back, welcome back. It's great to be here. I'm your host and MC for this event, and let's jump into it. So, the Tech Map was started, 7, 8 years ago. It's been a long tradition of Austin to have the Tech Map Co-Founder Meetup. Almost every single person in the startup community has gone through this or spoke at this event. Johan and Veronica started that, and I'm the pitch coach and MC for that. That's my super close-up. And the volunteers, Tony, and before we jump into it, Jonathan. And Jonathan will come up and speak for 30, 60 seconds, right? Sure. Yeah. You want to stand up?
How you guys doing? Getting used to speaking in front of crowds. I'm a tech guy, so this is good practice for me. But I run a company called Monix, spelled M-O-N-I-X, monix.com, and I'm building software that helps non-technical entrepreneurs get online. Doing a lot of work, writing code, and that's pretty much it. I didn't really come here with anything really prepared to say, but check out the website, and I'll be around if anyone, after if anyone wants to come say hello. I'm here to network.
Sweet. Thank you, Jonathan.
Thank you.
M-O-N-I-X?
M-O-N-I-X.
Sweet. Helping non-technical founders get online. Correct? Yes. Sweet. If you'd like to volunteer and get a chance at doing this, just help out at the next event, and you'll get a chance to talk about your startup in front of you guys. So, what's going on today? For people who haven't been here, we're going to drink a bunch, and it's going to, end quickly. So if you want to get a beer before like half an hour in, do it. Then we're gonna have a keynote first actually, and then pitches. This is the same format we do every single time. We have about 5 pitches after a fantastic keynote, and today the keynote is by my friend Marc Nathan. I'm super excited. And then we end around 8:30, and then we talk more. This is again a mix of you listen to people, you give feedback, and then you talk whoever you want to. You were here for a purpose. It's a fun time, but you're here for a purpose still. When it's 9, I will ask you guys very nicely to go down to the bar to continue talking, because we love Capital Factory, and they only allow us to be here until 9. And clean up, that's my job, if you'd like to help out. Yes, please. So, again, you're here for a reason, right? You either have a company, or you're looking to start one, or you want to help some companies grow. You all have color dots, and the red is talent, green is investor, yellow is media, and blue is entrepreneur. Look around the room. If you're here to meet someone in specific, go talk to them after this. You only have half an hour after this to do that, so do talk to them. So, the people who help us make this possible, we're going to go through all of them. I'm kidding. Only a few. And first off, we'll start by Capital Factory. I could go on and on about that, but I'm going to have Kelsey talk about Capital Factory.
Okay. Thanks, Moby. Hi, everyone. I'm Kelsey. So excited to see such a full room here. It's awesome. So I'm a venture associate on the Accelerator team here, and I have something very exciting to tell you all about. So we have been running these 100K challenges every other month since March. And this month, we're running a diversity and inclusion 100K challenge. So our goal is to invest $100,000 into an entrepreneur or a startup with a team that has at least one founder that's Black, Latinx, a woman founder, or another underrepresented group in technology. So applications for that are currently live on AngelList, and you can go to angel.co/capitalfactory, and you'll be able to see applications for the Diversity 100K as well as our Accelerator, which is live in October. So that's my coworker Haley in the back right there, and you can chat with her at this event also to answer any questions you might have about our Accelerator or about our 100K challenge. Thank you so much.
Kelsey, what's the website again?
angel.co/capitalfactory.
Thank you.
I won't curse, but 100K, holy shit. Okay, so next we have Texas MSTC. That's the grad program that I'm in. I could again go on and on, but I let the people who know more talk about that.
Thanks, Moby. I'm Trent Thurman. I'm the director of Texas MSTC. How many have heard of MSTC? All right, a good number in the back. Of course, some are graduates, but that's fine. Texas MSTC is a Master of Science in Technology Commercialization. So a one-year master's program at the Macomb School of Business where you take your idea, your technology, your product to market. So a 3-semester program where the first semester you're talking about sort of your market validation and putting together your marketing plan. Second semester is putting together the business plan. Third semester, your go-to-market strategy. So a very practical degree and very relevant to what I think a lot of you guys are talking about here tonight. It's designed for working professionals, so it meets on the weekends. We meet on Friday afternoon and Saturdays, alternating weekends for a year. If you'd like to learn more about the program, we have an information session coming up on Thursday, October 12th at 6 o'clock at McCombs. And I think we're going to schedule one here soon. Mandy, do you know the date on that yet?
But there is an AMA with 2 of our professors that do new venture design and implementation. It's like an operations course. They are going to be here at Capital Factory on September 27th from 6:30 to 8:30 p.m. And so you can ask them any question about a product launch, or there's like a bunch of criteria there on their website that they can answer questions on. You go to texasmstc.org. texasmstc.org. You can sign up for that.
Great. Thanks, Mandy. And as you can tell, we have several of us here today, including some graduates and current students like your host and MC, so feel free to ask us questions. Thank you.
All right. Only 2 more. 3. Shit. Okay. So Golden R Media is a company which does this. If you are pitching and you would like access to your recording, please let Gilby know. It's really important to know how you look on stage. I mean, not in that way, but how you come across on stage. And to talk about that, here's Gilby.
Hey everyone, my name is Alex Gilbert. I also go by Gilby, and I'm with Golden Hour Media. We are brand storytellers. What we do is we take your business or your personal brand and we help build it online through video, animation, things like that, blog posts. And essentially what we do is we help you build trust with your clients. And that trust turns clients into advocates, and then they help spread your word for you. So that's what we do. If you're interested in that or you want to learn more, please come see me. I'm very approachable. Thank you. Thank you, Gilby. Oh, also, future speakers, I'm recording out of these mics, so stand here. Thank you.
Fun fact, and I've said this 4 times to people who've heard it, please ignore me. 85% of videos on Facebook are watched without audio. So if you're doing video, you should add subtitles. All right, and
There's actually a tool on Facebook now that you can add it.
really?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
I'll ask you more about that.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so just 2 more left, okay? The second last one is the Fire Show, which is me. It's a podcast. I started off with the Austin Fire Show, which was a podcast about Austin entrepreneurship, innovation in this town, and I interviewed great people like Marc and other people to learn about how do entrepreneurs get started, especially in this city, how to get funding, how to build a go-to-market strategy, and now I'm kind of pivoting and starting with just the Fire Show. So dramatic. And starting off with the mayor. First episode is going to be released this Friday, so check it out on social media. And I will shut up now, and I will now have someone from Developer Week, Austin 2017, speak, making the long, long walk. You got 3 dots? Nice.
Yeah. Hi, my name is Eric Stevens. I'm from Dev Network, and there we go. Who's heard of Developer Week before this slide? Okay. I want to see everyone's hands after this. This is our first Austin-based event. For the last 7 years, they've been in San Francisco, so we're pretty excited. This is our first Austin event here. We just had one in New York, and this is going to be fun. It's the normal, the hackathon. It's going to be a 3-day event at the Palmer Event Center. There's going to be a hackathon, expo, speakers, workshops, and also a hiring mixer. So it's going to be pretty cool. Who in here is from a startup? So you guys have startups? Okay. If you're interested in exhibiting, please come talk to me, and then we can set up a call to see if you guys would like to show there. And then I'll let you guys take a look at that. And if you want to email me, you can email me. And just probably the easiest thing is just come up and talk to me after, and we'll go from there. Thank you. There's also, we've given Tech Map some tickets as well. So if you want to talk to Moby, so there's a few free tickets probably left.
Awesome, thank you. I would highly recommend if you're a company going to a conference. The first conference that I bought a booth at, I got 300 signups in 4 hours. So super useful if this is your target market. Cool. Again, format. After this, Johan's gonna talk about the Tech Map, the actual company that hosts this, and then we're gonna have Marc, Nathan talk for about 20 minutes, and then have 5 minutes Q&A, and then jump into pitches, my favorite part of this evening. Who here is afraid of public speaking, or actually is uncomfortable with public speaking? Sweet. Marc, what? Okay. It's okay, but getting in front of people and communicating your idea well is one of the most important things that would actually help you make progress. And then if you're pitching, I will cut you off at 5 minutes. Not because I'm a dick, but it's because you need to be able to communicate your idea in a certain amount of time. And 4 minutes Q&A. When you leave, please pick up your trash. We love this place. We love Capper Factory. Thank you for letting us do this, but please help us clean up. And again, I will let you out at 9 p.m. And did anyone park over here? In like Apple Factory? Okay, save $15 and get a ticket at the front desk. And you can pay only $5. You're on another slow walk. Dun, dun, dun. And we have the founder of this meetup and the tech map talking about what it is, why it is. Yes, of course.
Thank you guys. Thanks all for coming. I appreciate you guys making it out here. Hopefully you guys spread the word next time, get more people and fill this room up. Next month we're gonna have, I don't know if you went over that, this startup week. And October 10th, we're not doing the event on Monday, we're doing actually on Tuesday. So we expect over 200 people here, so try to register. It's gonna be a free event. It's from 6 to 8, and we'll have a panel of people actually speaking. So definitely try to make it that night. The Tech Map, we started this to make it easier for you guys to communicate and connect with each other before the event or at the event. So that's pretty much how your profile looks like. If you have an account set up with us, you'll be able to see if you're looking for a co-founder that is a developer or a business person. That's the main goal for us, to make easier connections at events. This is how we started with the map. So mapping all the companies, startups. This is just Austin, and co-working spaces and investors, so they make it easier for people that actually are looking for those co-working spaces or investors where to find them. Here, sometimes you find them as well. And then we started creating groups, kind of like Meetup, because we didn't like Meetup. There's a lot of issues that Meetup has that I'll talk about a little bit later, but we created our own groups itself. And we have jobs. Meetup doesn't have jobs, so if people are looking for jobs or looking for that co-founder, they can post a job. It's free, and make those connections easier. Then we have white label. So anybody that actually runs an event, we white label this so you can actually put that in your website and be able to manage your members, your groups, and everything. So if you do run an event, come and talk to me, so that way I can try to set you up with that and become a partner with us. And this is the events list. We actually pull events from Meetup, we pull events from Eventbrite, and we just try to make it easier for everybody that's having events related to businesses or startup or technology. And this is one of the reasons why we hate Meetup. So you guys can see, Meetup has no pictures, first name. Sometimes they just put initials like this guy. And you cannot really know who that person is. They don't really create a profile. What we did is we connected LinkedIn, where we pull all the information from LinkedIn, and we get everybody's name and information, and it's easier for you guys to connect. If you guys actually sign up through the Tech Map, through this event, you should be able to see something that says members, and you should see everybody's attending here. So if you don't get to meet everybody here, you'll be able to connect with them later, even with the speakers. And that's pretty much what we're trying to get at. And I guess we could talk about that membership. We do charge $10 per month if you guys want to become a verified member, and you get some features on the website that is actually there. One of them is actually attending the event and you don't have to pay. Well, today we had sponsors, so we gave away some tickets away for free. Next month we're going to have sponsors, and it's going to be a free event. So you don't have to sign up those months if you don't want, but after that you can help us support, and that helps us for the drinks and food. And one last thing I want to mention is we're looking for volunteers or somebody who wants to run this event for us. I know Moby's doing a lot, and he got a lot in his plate, so anybody that wants to volunteer or be an MC, come talk to me and give me any feedback about the event and also about the Tech Map. That's pretty much it.
Thank you, Johan. Any questions before we start and jump into it? I can wait. Cool. So, I don't need to tell you guys about how to talk at a networking event, but the easiest way to do that, just a small hack, is to say, hey, I like your shirt, and start talking to them. This is awkward sometimes, but this is a whole spiel about elevator pitches, and let's ignore that. So before we jump into Marc, Nathan, if you're looking to pitch, please do that as soon as possible. Anywhere here is one option, but there's many other places. And I've been with 3 Day Startup for about 3.5 years, seeing 200 pitches, and I've got a structure on the website, austinfireshow.com/pitching, and you could use that structure in order to structure your pitch when you actually pitch here or anywhere else. And I helped someone recently win $360K at the WeWork Creator Awards, so it does work, it depends. But if you want to pitch, talk to me. And let's jump into Marc Nathan's keynote. Marc is an entrepreneur, a lawyer, businessman, content creator, and most importantly, he's a connector. I don't know anyone in this town who doesn't know Marc Nathan, and now you guys do too. I could talk about how he's been helping companies grow since he was 2 years out of college, and then moved to Austin. Now he mentors about 100 startups, 150 plus, 100 plus startups a year at Capital Factory. He's a mentor at Capital Factory, and he has this great newsletter at the T Squared Agency, which is the only newsletter except mine that I read. And everyone, Marc Nathan.
High compliment, thank you. So first things first. How many people are native Texans, born here?
Yep.
Parents, born here? How many people go all the way back to the founding of the state? Couple? Always a few. Isn't that amazing? I love that. So we're going to talk about Texas as a region. Hate to do this because Moby's a friend and I happen to like him, but he's wrong about two things. Number one, I'm not an entrepreneur because I've never built a product company and sold it. And number two, I'm not a lawyer. Thank God I dodged the bullet. I do work for lawyers, so that's probably where it gets it. Let me talk about my favorite subject in the world, myself, real quick. This is my background. Started a company with my dad, who was a lawyer, right out of school while I was still actually here at UT, called Bulldog Financial, then became Bulldog Interests. And our job was specifically to help early stage companies find capital. We did that for about 7 years before he retired. Was a little tired of it, and then I ended up joining the equivalent of what we know here as the Austin Technology Incubator in Houston, called the Houston Technology Center. I was there for 2.5 years helping early stage startups pitch to investors, polish their pitching, make sure that they had a customer and they knew what they were talking about, and then set them on their way. That was a nonprofit incubator that actually allowed me to get into 2 separate jobs right after that. One was a digital development shop, specifically building iPad apps for the oil and gas industry. Keep your seat, it's pretty exciting stuff. This is new. At the same time, I ended up having a partner in a technology recruiting firm. And let me tell you, do not take 2 jobs at the same time. It's not easy and it's not fun. I left both of them to join another digital agency specifically focused on industrial strength pay-per-click and marketing and agency type work called Forthea, also based in Houston. And after a 1.5 years or so, family picked up and moved to Baltimore, Maryland, of all places, because of my wife's job. But I ended up starting my own firm called T Squared Agency, which you see on the bottom here. And it didn't work out that well. If you don't look at your slides, this is what happens. Be careful. Ultimately, we'll talk about it later. Ultimately, I moved back to Texas and landed here in Austin 3 years ago. I was immediately hired by a group called Seed Invest, which is an equity crowdfunding platform, to open up their Texas market. And after a little while, after I got them launched here and got them past South by Southwest, I ended up going back to T Squared, launched exactly 2 years ago last week, the Texas Squared newsletter, which we're going to discuss in a moment. And ultimately, this is why Moby got a little mixed up. I actually do work for lawyers again. Miller, Egan, Moulter & Nelson is a technology-focused startup law firm based right here down the street on Colorado that hired me specifically to help their clients raise capital. So while I'm not a lawyer, I do work with startups every single day and help bring them into the law firm. Finally, we're done with this subject. Now we're going to talk about the one thing I'm here to talk about, which is Texas, even though this is what I'm doing right now today. So you've all heard of Six Flags, right? Yeah. Well, Six Flags over Texas is a real thing. And I started thinking about why that's a real thing, and I realized very quickly that startups and Texas actually fit hand in glove, because essentially they've been through all the stages of a startup and then some. Ultimately, people started hear me out. I worked this out. I actually worked it out. Here it is. Basically, Texas was inhabited by Europeans, Spanish specifically, and then the French, since the 1500s. Okay, the French were the first people to actually incorporate it. Then you got the Spanish, and they sort of really made Texas a thing. It got the early stage traction it needed. And then Mexicans took it over, which is a good thing, because ultimately they turned into their own state, their own country, and they made it work. Until there was a little bit of a revolution, and Texas said, I think we're going to go off on our own. And that looked a little bit like their IPO, in my opinion. So they were pretty active on their own for a while, not long enough, since 1836, but they were acquired, I like to say, by the US federal government until they had a big fat spinoff called the Confederacy, which didn't work out so well. And that's probably a very, very good thing. I will note that Texas was the most reluctant state to join the Confederacy because they didn't actually care about or really want to deal with slavery. Ultimately, there was a reconstruction, that's what it's called, and they were reacquired by the United States, and here we are today. A couple of facts about Texas. And everybody talks about how big Texas is and how great we are. Well, we are great and we are big, and this is why. First of all, we're the second largest because nobody counts Alaska. Who cares about them? We've got 28 million people almost running around doing really interesting things. We actually represent 8% of all Fortune 500 businesses in the United States. I think that's pretty significant because all those Fortune 500s actually turn around and buy from startups, buy from agencies, and actually sell to customers that are right here in town. So if we were, and the last one, and everybody talks about this, I don't know if you can see it, if we were our own country again, we would be the number 10 in the world. Let's talk about what Texas really means as far as innovation. A lot of people forget our history, even early history. Back in the 1950s, the group Texas Instruments, based out of Dallas, invented the silicon transistor and commercialized it. So that was what we're talking about, 67 years ago. They actually started in 1953. Well, the company started in 1913, but they actually started with the transistors in 1953. So they started with transistors, they got into photovoltaics, they got into DSPs, they've gotten a bunch of other stuff. Everybody in this room probably had one of their calculators for a while. They've been into some things for a long, long time. The next big company out there is EDS. Anybody's ever heard of EDS? Anybody heard of Ross Perot? This was Ross Perot's company when he felt like he couldn't work for IBM anymore, and he essentially invented the concept of business outsourcing. He was the IT department for almost all government facilities in Texas for a while, and this was back in the 60s. Then we had a little company called Compaq, which nobody remembers anymore, but they invented that thing that you see here, the 44-pound luggable first laptop computer. And people really did actually carry those on planes and move around with them, and they were the first things with 2 5.25-inch disk drives, if you can see them here. It's pretty amazing stuff. So a couple other companies that are a few other companies. Have you ever seen *Halt and Catch Fire*? Yes. This is the fictionalized version of some of those stories. And a few others, Dell we've all heard of, don't have to comment about that other than they essentially invented modern scalable e-commerce. Silicon Labs, literally right down the street, every single chipset in every single phone you have has something from them somewhere in it. You've got Cirrus Logic, another company based here in Austin that came up with digital signal processing. The last one, the second to last one is Rackspace, which needs no introduction. And they didn't invent web hosting, but they invented fanatical support, and they're the reason why people know what web hosting is. Even your mom knows what it is now. The last one is National Instruments. NI essentially created the entire industry around electronic testing here in town. Let's talk about what Texas really is. These are our main industries, and each individual region has their own strengths and weaknesses. So let's get into it. Central region, right where we are now, so that includes the Silicon Hills area, that's San Antonio, that goes all the way just under the Bryan College Station, so Texas A&M. But we're really, really good on technology for a variety of things. But one thing that we really are strong about is A, chips that we talked about, so the hardware, and B, enterprise software. You're not going to see a whole lot of consumer stuff running around, even though obviously there is some, but our real strength is what we know as B2B selling and analytics. The West region is all about energy, and that is a giant region, but it's very sparsely populated. Gulf Coast, where I'm from, Houston, that's everything down from Brownsville all the way through Beaumont. We're looking at energy, obviously, medical with the Texas Medical Center in Houston, and a lot of people don't know that Houston's the second largest port, and they also have the second largest amount of manufacturing facilities in the United States. And then the North region, so this is Dallas-Fort Worth area, right below Oklahoma. They're really, really, really good at real estate, and they're really, really good at retail. Not so much JCPenney today or Neiman Marcus today, but they invented sort of that modern blowout retail that came out of the idea of malls and selling at a high-end premium luxury level. Let's talk about distance for a second. Let's talk about Texas as a size. We know how big it is, we know how difficult it is to get to places, but the 4 major populated cities are less than 200 miles from each other. And that means they're probably 3.5 hours driving total, even with traffic, or an hour's flight, which is exactly why Southwest Airlines started in the first place. They were the first people to ever discover that it was actually easier to get on a plane, fly an hour, and get on the ground to actually do business back in the 70s. So these are all drive times and spaces, but ultimately this triangle with A&M and Austin, San Antonio, this is the heart of Texas, truly, for the kind of work we're all talking about here. And this is what we're really talking about. How can we help startups? And I promise I'll share this thing, you don't have to take pictures and all that. I will make sure this gets out there. This is just a smattering of some of the accelerators that are in Texas that help individual companies like yours grow. Obviously, the center of it is Capital Factory. That is actually on purpose. Center of gravity is what we call ourselves here at Capital Factory, but also is expanding out to a lot of different areas. There's a lot of different vertical incubators. We've got medical incubators with Dell Medical School here. We've got one at TMCX. RevTech is retail in Dallas area. Health Wildcatters, Tech Wildcatters, we've got them all. And the newest one of the size that we're talking about is RealCo out of Geekdom Fund in San Antonio. Didn't convert, hate that. These are some co-working resources, some startup Facebook groups, and some digital startup digest, specifically email newsletters. This is something that obviously TechMap has got covered in a lot of ways, but this is the map that I've put together, and these are freely available for everybody. The one thing I will suggest to you is to follow these event listings on Twitter. This is Keith Casey's listing. He automates all of the meetup groups that are interesting to tech companies and puts them in a single Twitter feed for each individual city. He's up to 27 cities right now, but these are the 4 that matter. Talking about alliances and talking about Texas, everybody here is probably raising money or about to raise money or just raised money. Yes, no, close? The angel networks in the state of Texas are very, very strong. The Alliance of Texas Angel Networks is 13 separate networks, 2 of them being the largest in the United States, both the CTAN, Central Texas Angel Network, and HAN, the Houston Angel Network, which I was a member of for 8 years, are the most active angel networks in the United States. There's other angel networks involved in that, including Baylor, which is actually a very, very active angel network. And these are companies that listen to the pitches after you get them polished by Moby and actually write you a check if they like your deal. And I couldn't not do this presentation without talking about Josh at some point. I tell this to everybody, so I'll tell it in public. I talk about Josh Baer more than I talk about my own kids. He's a force. There's no other way to say it. But very recently, in the last 3 weeks, he wrote something called the Texas Startup Manifesto, which specifically talks about a lot of the stuff I've been talking about for several years, which is we have to act as a region. We can't just be individual cities. As a native Houstonian, I can't tolerate the Dallas Cowboys. I have an allergy to them. What can I tell you? But you know how often Dallas Cowboys fans think about Texans? 0. Couldn't care less. The fact is that we all have to come together as a region, not because it's the right thing to do or the nice thing to do, it's because it makes business sense. And if we can act as a region, we can land things like the Amazon headquarters. We can get more international airport coverage here. We can actually make our quality of life and startup life better, especially attracting both talent and treasure, which includes venture capitalists to come to town. So with that, I'm ready for Q&A. Thank you. Questions about founding a company, funding a company, finding a company?
I've got an idea, and I'm planning to pitch here for collaborators. Am I doing the right thing?
Yes.
Okay.
Where else would you go?
I mean, anywhere else?
Well, yeah, and get the same result. No, you're doing the right thing. Ultimately, the more people you tell about your idea, and the more people you tell your idea well, you articulate it, your narrative makes sense, it resonates, then those people will actually resonate out and tell others, hopefully finding you the co-founder and money you need.
Nice, man.
Very good. Anybody else? Yes, sir.
When do you think is the best time for a startup company to get funded?
Yesterday. That's obvious. No, the fact is you want to get funded as soon as you get what we would call significant traction. Anywhere from a handful of customers, a patent, something that says this is real, this is not just a back of a napkin idea. I didn't wake up this morning and say, you know, it'd be great if I did X. You want to see something that can actually make your investors money. That's when you want to raise.
Great, thank you.
Just follow up with that question. So
It's basically, you know it when you see it. Ultimately, it's sometimes revenue, it's sometimes number of customers, it's some sort of milestone that you can hit that your clients want you to hit and that your competitors don't want to hit. What I'm saying is you want to differentiate yourself in the market. You open up a hot dog stand and everybody's got a hot dog stand and it doesn't make you special, doesn't mean you're not going to make money, but it's not going to make an investor money, and that's what they're thinking about. All the way in the back.
So it needs to be past the idea stage, it needs to be in motion before you go for funding. You can't have an idea and go from there. You have to have something moving.
This is one of the hardest questions in startups. So the answer is, of course you can, but you can also win the lottery. It happens. So the exception sometimes proves the rule. Ideas rarely get funded. I mean, it happens, but it's so rare as to be an outlier, a complete unicorn myth. Most investors, true professional investors, not your friends and family, not your rich uncle, people that actually professionally invest their money in other people's money, want to see that you're making money and have the ability to scale that money to make them money. So I would say you want to be at least on the path of making money with your customers. Yes, ma'am.
Earlier you mentioned that a patent would be something worth taking the idea on. So if it's just at a patent stage?
It's just at a patent stage, probably not. A patent typically costs anywhere from $5,000 just to get started to $25,000 in 2 years of your life just to get that piece of paper saying, yeah, we got a patent. And all that patent means is that you can go sue people that you think are infringing on it. So patents are nice and they are good and they do build up intellectual property and they do build up assets, but they're not your business. And I mentioned it earlier because it is a milestone. It does say that there is some credibility from the government that says this is unique and special. That's all.
Yeah. So what would your advice be to someone like me who is at that phase? Because right now I'm just at the random meeting people who know a person that can hopefully help me.
How many people are in that phase right now here? They're in the random, sort of kind of bumping into people, talking to people, don't really know what's going on. That happens a lot. And that's a stage of the journey that everybody that I know has gone through. And ultimately it's important because you're going to know A, what you want, and B, what you don't want when it comes to partners, investors, and collaborators. So from a patent stage, are you pursuing a patent right now?
I have a patent.
Fantastic. Great. So you're past that. I mean, you've gone down that path. Now you've got to prove that you can make money with it.
Yeah. I don't have proof of concept, but...
Are you getting there?
Yeah.
That's what counts.
So I didn't know if there was some sort of, there's no really magical formula to get past this phase. You just kind of have to keep at it with networking, I guess, right?
So I can't give you advice because I don't have advice for you. I can give you an opinion because I got lots of those. My opinion is very simple. You get one customer, potential customer, raise their hand, say, this looks interesting, I buy it once it's done. That's your traction.
Oh, I've had plenty of that.
Fantastic. If you can get it in writing through a letter of intent, then you're in much better shape. All I have to say is, yes, I would buy this if you would actually sell it to me.
Really?
Really. It happens
And
all the time.
would I show that to investors?
Investors. That's part of your credibility. That's part of your traction.
How do they prove I'm not full of...
They'll call the customer.
Really?
Absolutely. Wouldn't you? If you were going to hire somebody, wouldn't you call the references?
Yeah.
If I'm going to write you a big fat check, don't you want, I think I want to know your people on it.
What would you say is a good number for that list?
6. I don't know.
Really?
No, I'm kidding. I made it up. I have no idea. I have no idea. It's significant to your industry. Significant to your industry can mean anything. If you're going after customers, there's 7 billion people out in the world. Probably not a whole lot of them are going to be your customers, but a significant portion would be X. Right. You had your hand in the back. Behind you. Yes, sir. No, you're we came in the elevator together. Go ahead.
Right. How do you go about assessing valuation for companies at the seed stage, the companies that you've represented, and in your experience, do the valuations that you get vary differently, a lot significantly from what investors come back with?
To answer the first part of your question, the only real way to do that is through comparables. Other companies that are at your stage, at the same level you're at, figuring out what they've done. That's not the perfect answer, but ultimately, that's the only real way we can decide what you look like is going to be based on what other companies that sort of kind of look like what you're doing. But that's the eternal struggle between entrepreneurs and investors.
Right. And
You want to go high, they want to go low.
Right, and if you're in an entirely new space and you don't have comparables, how do you go about that then?
You compare the space. Let's talk about a brand new space. So VR. VR is a brand new space to most people. I'm not saying it's a good business or a bad business. I'm saying I'm using it as an example. We don't know what VR business is going to be. We do know what apps look like. We do know what the video game business looks like, and we know what media looks like. So we have to extrapolate. And that's the only way to do it, through comparables, because we're all sort of, stumbling forward in the industry right now. I don't know if I answered the second question, though. Just how do you find...
I sort of expected, I was hoping to hear something additional from the usual. I mean, it's going to be up or down based on what the
Well, I will tell you that regionally it does matter. Valuations actually do fluctuate region to region.
Okay.
Let me put it this way. If I'm going to start a brand new car company that's not Tesla, I'm going to do a traditional car company. Well, I don't want to do it in Phoenix, Arizona. I want to do it in Detroit, Michigan, because they know what it should look like. Versus, I don't want to start an oil and gas company in, Portland, when I should be doing it in Houston, because valuations are comparable based on what people's knowledge really is. That's why consumer stuff is so hard here in Texas, because we don't do consumer very well. Anyway, yes, sir.
There's been a lot of people raising money through crowdfunding sources. How has that sort of changed or altered the startups' relationships, and whether that's even a good idea for your startup to do something like that?
It's a great idea. Now let me differentiate very quickly. So, Kickstarter, Indiegogo, equity crowdfunding. All right. If you do a Kickstarter to get your company off the ground, it's a hardware company, you can actually sell it. I think that is phenomenally positive for, specifically, user traction. If you put it up on Kickstarter, it gets on there, and people actually throw you money and say, please send this to me, that's a pretty good indicator. And I've seen a lot of investors that are actually using that as an indicator to say early traction matters. I've also seen really, really, really good Kickstarters that can't get money after their Kickstarter. So it's a double-edged sword. Now, equity crowdfunding, and I'll even include the ICOs, all these Bitcoin, ICO, these things. I used to work for one, I told you, Seed Invest. I know it pretty well. I know the space fairly well. It's still an accredited investor's game. I don't really feel very strongly that it should be something that unaccredited or non-accredited investors, people that can only invest up to $5,000 per year, should really do. And more importantly, if you're a really good company, you're going to go with a traditional investor in the first place. So it does change the formula a little bit in that you now have two more options you didn't have even 5 years ago. But at the end of the day, money's still money, and the people with it don't want to give it away for free.
Where do you find the traditional investors?
They actually do their very best to show up to places like this. They want to come. You'd be surprised. Everybody thinks that investors are hidden and secret and secretive and, smoky room, cigar chomping guys and girls. They're not. Their job is specifically to find interesting companies so they can put money into, so they can extract 10 times their money out of it. So places like this, accelerators like we talked about, startup pitch events, all the stuff that Moby's involved with, they're there a lot. And it's really important you show up to them. And you can meet them and shake their hand and realize they're actually real life human beings. They're not just these faceless, nameless corporate drone people.
Last question.
Since you haven't asked, yeah.
Yeah, Mark, I have a question.
Okay.
We're an IT crowd here, so it's IT startups probably.
Right.
You have to think about marketing, your target, buyer persona, your product customer fit.
Mm-hmm.
I have a specific question about the technology. What are the challenges, biggest challenges that startups face when developing, building a software product, if it's a software product startup?
Well, I think you want me to say, the architecture, so it's not brittle, it won't break, it's going to have...
No, I think the question is, what breaks them most of all? What is their biggest problem that actually causes them the biggest concern, or is the biggest threat to their existence?
Clem, that's a very, very easy question to answer. It's scalability. It's how do I get my company with my great idea out to the masses, which means it's got to look right, the design, the UI, and the UX has got to be right. The back end has to work flawlessly all the time, 24/7. It's got to be able to scale massively, and more importantly, it actually has to be something that other users can interface with, whether it's a corporate partner, it's a white label deal. So building a prototype or an MVP is wonderful to get your idea out there. It's wonderful to get a couple of early stage traction people on there, but in order to get mass users, whether it's corporate users or consumers, it's got to work. And so building the architecture right and making sure it's load balanced and all the back end boring DevOps stuff, that's critically important, and it takes architecture to do that right.
All right, thank you.
All right, thanks y'all, appreciate it.
All right, pitches. Let's jump into it because we have 75 minutes. Let's do it?
Yep.
Awesome. And which one is yours? It's a joke, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's hard to say because there's about 5 Co-Founder Meetup. So we have pitches for 5 minutes and then 4 minutes Q&A. Marc will have a mic to ask questions first, but if you don't get a chance to talk to the person pitching, please come by later and ask them questions.
How do I know my time is up?
You'll hear it.
Okay, all right.
And just whenever you start, I'll start it.
Okay. All right, hey guys. Oh, thanks. Actually, I don't need this.
Cool.
All right, so I've got a lot to go through, so I'm going to be talking pretty quickly. I was going to prank you guys and say I was here for a multi-level marketing opportunity. I don't even have enough time for that prank, so I'm not even going to go through that. My name is Sven Zetterlund. I'm from Madison, Wisconsin. I'm a mechanical engineering college dropout. After college, I started a few e-commerce companies, made over $100,000. Most recently, I just finished up a 2-year stint on the aggregation team at Indeed, and I have a goal of attaining 10 million by age 40. Now, I'm looking for somebody, perhaps in this room, who can connect me with the people I need to meet. Maybe I'll be talking with you afterwards. In particular, I'm looking for a business development partner. Essentially, I'm looking for this guy from Silicon Valley. I need my partner to be an MBA type, kind of economics, help with the business strategy and some accountancy skills. Also, I need a little bit of help with marketing, and I'm just here to network and meet mentors as well. So some of my strengths, I'm a systems builder, jack of all trades. I know this term has a negative connotation, but as Tim Ferriss says, it's the generalist who ends up running the show. I've got brains and balls. I scored a perfect 36 on the ACT, which fewer than 1 in 1,000 people do. I got some technical skills. I can code in many languages. So for my businesses, I can take care of all the technical aspects. I'm looking for somebody to help just with the business side of things. I've got design skills. I do video production, web design, as well as product design. Oh, shoot. Okay. That video can't play. Darn. Yeah, and I'm also really effective at outsourcing projects. And I know this is another word that has kind of bad connotations, but in my experience, there's no better and leaner way to build a business than through outsourcing. So these are examples of some projects of mine for the past 2 months, and the average cost is about $100. So now I'm going to get into some of the business ideas I have. The first one is for a new kind of online dating service. So what are some of the main problems with the existing dating sites? First is that there's no central repository, so it's kind of hard to know which site to use. You feel like you might be missing out on somebody on another site. Secondly, most sites don't have a way to filter out if a candidate doesn't find you attractive. And also, most sites don't have tools for high volume yes or no filtering. So the solution is to build an aggregator of the top 5 or 10 sites with advanced filtering algorithms. Like for example, does your candidate, does she write at a 3rd grade level or a 10th grade level? Is her profile just a few words or is it a few paragraphs? Also incorporating two-way filtering, making sure that she finds you attractive. If you're a smoker and she doesn't want a smoker, then she won't show up on your list. And also creating a tool for high volume yes or no filtering. So this is just kind of a quick demo I have. You can use the keyboard to vote yes, no, or maybe. You can look at people's pictures and say, maybe yes, like this would be a definite no. This is a
another definite no. But you can kind of go through here and quickly look through the photos, say yes or no. This person's attractive enough for me to marry. All those results get added to their respective lists. So what do you think of when you see that kind of rapid swiping? You think of Tinder, right? But Tinder, unfortunately, has a reputation for being kind of for hookups and much more casual. And conversely, Match.com and more of the serious sites, they don't want to appear vapid, so they kind of have this, overly romantic idea to online dating that, you put in your data and they find your soulmate for you, But in reality, I think it's much more, people place much more emphasis on physical attraction. So I kind of want to attack this space here where it emphasizes attraction, but also long-term relationships. I guess at the end of the day, it also is really great because it takes less than an hour to get through about 2,000 candidates, and at the end, you found about 250 of the most highly qualified candidates on the internet, which is something I think other sites don't do. In my experience using online dating, it's that you kind of always feel like, oh, maybe there's somebody I missed. But with an aggregated website and all this filtering, you can be sure that at the end, those 250 people are, your highest qualified people. There's a few potential problems I would have to talk with my partner about. I need to know if we have the legal authority to use data from different dating sites. And also developing a strategy for an end vehicle for the service. I think there's three different possibilities. The first is to build a standalone dating site. The second would be to build exclusive thing. Okay. And so if anybody wants to talk to me, I've got some other miscellaneous business ideas. Come talk to me afterwards.
Questions? Marc?
So very, very quickly, I mean, it sounds like you are a jack of all trades. It sounds like you've got a lot of skills and experience behind you, and that's fantastic. And obviously we didn't catch all the ideas, but
yeah.
When you say you're looking for somebody, are you looking for somebody to brainstorm ideas? Are you looking for somebody to bring the idea to fruition or develop it?
The latter, yeah, to help bring it to market, develop business strategy, yeah.
And you want to be the technical co-founder? Are you going to code it? Or are you going to?
Yeah, I can take care of all the technical aspects. Yeah.
That sounds fantastic. So it sounds like you've got a pretty good audience. Go ahead.
Yeah. Thank you.
Are you open to reaching your goal with someone else's idea?
Yeah. Yeah, I am. Yeah, this isn't strictly working for myself. If somebody makes me a good enough offer, consider it. Yeah, in the back.
I don't want to be disrespectful to where maybe people want to blow your Q&A, but like, how do you deal with scammers?
With online dating?
Yes.
That's a good question. To be honest, I haven't even thought of it. Yeah, I guess find some effective way that other sites deal with it and emulate it.
I've used dating sites and I find that to be a big problem. Scammers, and I don't know if like background checks or some form of a light background check, maybe not background check, some light that can still identify the person that signs up.
Yeah, you might be able to implement some sort of algorithms to find the likelihood of somebody being a scammer if they were online the past month and, if the profile fits a certain thing, if their pictures fit certain criteria. But yeah, that's something honestly I haven't considered.
Just my 2 cents for being in the audience, I would probably suggest starting with the idea so you can get through as much as you can from it, and then maybe delve into your own background and things like that, just so you have enough time to share the actual idea, and then later share.
Yeah, I need to work on my presentation skills. 5 minutes, I mean, it goes by like that. But yeah, thanks.
Then, again, a small suggestion for you, it's not your last pitch as a member of the audience. You might want to reconsider calling it elite matchmaking.
That's
how for anybody of you it sounds
right.
a little dodgy for me. And another one on your diagram where you have your Y and the axis, your actual long-term relationships are to the left, which means more negative in a mathematical scale. If you want to position yourself as a long-term with attraction website, you might want to reverse it and put the long-term to the right, where it could be perceived as a more positive. Does it make sense? If you roll back to the slide that you showed, you'll probably see what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I had that. Instead of the y-axis be the emphasis on long-term relationships.
Just revert that, and it
Okay.
probably would be perceived better.
Okay, yeah, thank you. There was something, what was your first point? I wanted to remark.
Elite matchmaking.
Oh, yeah, that was just
Sounds to me like a
it does, it sounds,
website.
right, yeah. That's just a totally arbitrary project name for it.
But you're pitching to an audience of a lot of people, so you might want to do it as soon as possible.
Okay, yeah, thank you. Yeah.
You talk about aggregating all the data for these for this dating stuff. Have
Mhm.
you looked into any of the licensing from any of the major corporations that are currently out there?
No, I haven't. No. That'd be something I have to discuss with a business developer.
Last question.
Okay, thank you guys.
Thank you. All right, booklet.
Thanks.
First.
I'm Nevin, everyone. Hi. Let me know when I.
Is this
start.
better? Should I give them the mic or not?
Oh, give it a mic.
But okay. It'd be better if you stand here. And whenever you start.
Oh, thank you, sir.
Of course. If you don't want to use it, you don't have to use it.
Moby, yeah?
Yes.
Okay, Moby. Hi, everyone. How's everyone doing? Good, good, good. I'm going to tell you a little story. I recently picked up a book that I wanted to read, and I felt a little bit annoyed because I didn't have other people to read it with. I've been traveling like a nomad, like a digital nomad, for some time now. There's a lot of us out there. And connecting to communities, you know, things like spiritual communities is becoming easier through Google Hangouts, which actually is pretty helpful when you're traveling. If you're a road warrior or, you know, you just like to travel, you probably know what I'm talking about. But finding a book club is actually pretty hard, and I thought it'd be great to have an opportunity to join a book club that's facilitated with Google Hangouts. Questions that are kind of pre-populated, and people that are, you know, all over the world reading the book that you want to read. So here I am in front of you looking for your time, your energy, your ideas, and your interest to help create this so that I don't feel this problem anymore and that we can make a lot of money together. I mean, probably better than a nonprofit, right? So that's the idea. Just to kind of give it another look. You know, this is a version of me in number one, reading a book that I just picked up, you know, kind of lonely. Here's what I know as someone who's been part of a book club and someone who's been a teacher and just kind of an interested, you know, engaged member of society. And number three is kind of the vision, you know, audiovisual tools allowing a book club to be facilitated with people you meet online. So book reading, in-person book club, online book club. Number three is the idea, book club. I chose the name literally maybe today because it sounds like book club. And I made the logo like with $20 through some ridiculously amazing AI. This is background. I don't think it's that important other than I feel the pain. Got a ton of contact information that I'll kind of zip through and I'll put up soon. If you're interested in helping, if you're interested in just sharing or suggesting or pointing me in the right direction, please get in touch here or later. Or even just raise your hand. Here's a couple of slides that the strategy consultant side of my brain put together, talking about, you know, what do the premium users kind of look like as a first draft? What do the freemium users, you know, experience? Here's kind of a 5 chevron, you know, thing. Walking through the workflow of kind of getting online and repeating the experience. Some of the questions that I would love to pose to the audience tonight about more specific aspects of the flow. And I'm not a experienced designer, but these are just the things that came to mind. So hopefully this kind of is making sense. Market size calculations is like really, really back of the envelope. I think someone said there's 8 billion people in the world. I found out that the literate population, which I think is the addressable market, is a little bit less. In the US, it's a little bit less as well. Willingness to pay just based off of like a Meetup subscriber. And then, you know, total addressable market. Hey, $20 billion, man. This is just, I mean, these are just, you know, raw numbers to hopefully impress people who find that impressive. I would love to work with y'all. Email me at Gmail, text me, talk to me on Facebook, and I would love to hear your questions. Moby.
Yes.
Yes.
If I know, oh yes.
Thanks.
Good idea. So if I know 20 people, if I'm traveling and I know 20 people who are traveling and I add them on Facebook and add them on a group, why would anyone pay you money instead of just talking on a group and sharing a Google Hangouts link?
I don't know. Thanks for the question, though.
Dream killer.
Should I take the question? Okay. I mean, I think the question is, why should anyone pay me if they have another solution? And my answer is, I don't know why they should pay me. I mean, if you know 20 people who would be willing to do that, that's great. If you don't, then maybe you want another solution.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
So I'm still not clear on the concept really, and I understand that you're probably still developing it yourself, maybe in some sense. But what's the user experience? The person who buys into this thing that you're talking about, and they want to pay $10 a month. What do they do exactly? You know,
does anyone know a bestseller by any chance on the top of their head, like Lean In, or just say Lean In, right? Really popular with the ladies, and maybe you want to learn a little bit about that perspective to share with people who work in your company. So you decide to pick it up. You do, as a subscriber, sir, and you say, well, nobody around me is really interested in reading Lean In because they don't have my staff, they don't have my interests. Let me pay $10 and find, I don't know, 20 people around the world who are interested in reading this with me for the next 6 weeks, so I understand the content better.
So it seems subject specific in a way. So there's a thing that I'm interested in, and I'm reading a book about that, and I'm hooking up with other people who are interested in this thing. Is that the idea?
Would it be subject specific or a book title specific?
Book title, probably.
Subject sounds better, but.
Okay.
I think I'd rather do subject if I was on the website, just because there's so many specific books.
I think it should become a dating site too, by the way.
Yeah. Oh my God, statistics should be collected.
There's a question in the back, but if you want to go ahead.
Oh, if there's someone in the back, I'll wait. I was just curious if you have any idea about how this experience could be more than just video chat. If you can add anything to it that makes it more relatable to like a book club or reading a book, more than just seeing the other person and talking to them.
Yeah, I think that the prompts that the site would provide the facilitator and the readers, right, the freemium users, would create a lot of value in that it would generate a more memorable experience. Thank you. Yes?
This is not like, how much of this are you making up on the spot right now?
80%.
No more
I mean, like this is it.
Okay.
This is all we have.
Right now. Okay, you in the red.
Last
please.
question.
Yeah, so I think what would be more interesting would be if you enable a platform that would allow anybody to provide feedback about a book. Okay, it's not a real life chat, but if I read a book and I want to say specific things about different sections, then I'll make a video and push it out. And then you can have a subscriber who would pay to listen to what different people have already said about different sections, and there might be some rating system which will give the best 5 feedback about a section of a book. So that is more valuable than having somebody do a real chat. I think that'll be more difficult to get a real hangout session.
Okay.
It'll be much more easier to get some recorded content that somebody can play back for a month's subscription.
Thank you, and thank you all for listening. I'm looking forward to meeting you.
That was the most laid back pitch I've ever seen in my life. Okay.
I don't think your mic's on, maybe.
Oh, it's not? My mic is not.
Thanks, man.
All right, next we have. I was gonna pull yours up, but it's not showing up, so we're gonna do another one real quick. A demo? Oh, sweet. Hello.
Hello. Hey there. Great stuff. I can probably do without that.
Cool.
Thanks. Right. My name's Christian Rivers, and I'm with Adinmo, which I guess there's problem number 1, which nobody knows how to pronounce this. So, we're doing a platform for brand campaigns within mobile games. So let me start with 3 premises. First, millennials, Gen Zs are immune to traditional advertising, number 1. Number 2, brands are aware of this, so they're looking for other channels to talk to these audiences. Influencer campaigns today are a great example of how that's happening. Mobile, in fact, mobile games would be a great platform for them to talk to their audiences in an authentic manner. Unfortunately, the current advertising ecosystem within mobile games is broken. It sucks for all the participants. If you're a brand, most of the ads that are delivered through games today are CTR or CPI based. So if you're a brand and you're just wanting to do an awareness campaign versus an actual click to install or click to go buy something direct response, you don't have that capability. As a gamer, you all know, you're doing really well, Clash of Clans, whatever, you're getting ready to that next level, bang, you have to watch a 30-second ad, non-skippable, so you've lost all your flow on that. As a developer, it's even worse. As a developer, you're paid on a CPI or, like I said, on a CTR. As a developer, your best case scenario, the way that you get paid for your game, for your free-to-play game, is you incentivize your users to look at an ad for another game. 95% of the ads that are, 95 to 100% depending on the territory, of the ads that are shown in a mobile game are for other games. So you incentivize your user to look at that ad, click on it, go download a competitor's game, leave your game. That's your best case scenario as a developer. So we look at some comparables as what the market opportunity might be. Number 1, film, TV, product placement. This market exists. It's a great one. It's one that I've participated in. It's getting bigger. We all know mobile advertising is huge, getting huger, right? Lastly, and this is one that's really interesting to me, is mobile gamers spend about 30 minutes a day on average across all age demographics, on average playing games. As you go down to lower age groups, down to millennials, down to Gen Z, it's actually even longer. And as I mentioned, as a developer, you can really, if you're not monetizing through IAPs, if you're a free-to-play game or a free game, if you're not monetizing through IAPs, you can only put in about 3 to 4 ads per 30-minute session before your eCPMs just go through the floor, before you can't monetize that player anymore. So we're looking at Adinmo, we're looking at that, say, 28 minutes a day of game session time where there's no monetization happening, there's no IAP happening, and you can't advertise to the user. That's the place that we're trying to target. So version 1 is 2D polygon, static brand units that go into games. Awareness, product placement, that's really kind of what it's like. So putting brands into games. We look at future versions where it actually gets more interesting is where we can actually have an interaction. So if you look at the journey that a brand would want to do in a brand campaign, awareness is the first step, right? And that's where we are today with our version 1, aiming at around December launch of that. Interaction is the next one. You want your customers to interact with that brand in some way. So we can do player character wrapping, wrap your car, etc. Get 5 coins to put Nike on your team player, etc. Events, these sorts of things. And the last one is advocacy. Advocacy would be like a gifting economy. So I've got a car that has a brand that I really like on it, and I'm getting paid to do that as a consumer effectively. The next one is I can now gift that to someone else, gift that brand to them. And brands love that, we love that. What's particularly good about this from our perspective is if you do ad targeting today in the mobile space, bar a couple of exceptions, maybe Facebook, MoPub, your targeting options are very limited. Geo, platform, sex, maybe a few other kind of demographic options. We can now understand how the audience is actually interacting with specific brands. So we can say, okay, we can understand their brand affinities, their brand aversions, which ones they're actually interacting with, and how they're interacting with them. Where we are today is we're looking at a December launch of our kind of version 1, and it's really a kind of test case for us. We want to have about 3 to 5 brands and about 3 to 5 games on board. We already have 1 energy drink manufacturer on board and 2 games. I'll jump ahead just to the team real quick. Myself, I've spent the last 20 years in Europe and Asia in digital entertainment, interactive, and linear. Most recently as head of digital distribution for Paramount Pictures. I still do some advisory work for London Film School, Toys to Life Company, Parade Media. My co-founder, he was the co-founder of Edge Reality Studios here in Austin. You may know one of their big games was Loadout. So I'll jump ahead real quick, if I can, to the ask. Can I talk about the ask? Okay, so the ask, because I left that at the end. The ask, there's 2 parts for me being up here today, and really this is my first time pitching to the size group. One is, I would love you guys to pick this apart. Tell us where the problems are. We have some assumptions. We have some things that we think are problems. We think they're surmountable, but we're not sure. 2, just networking. Like I said, I've been out of Austin for 20 years. My co-founder never had to take any investment in his last company. So it's a great problem to have, but unfortunately it's a problem for us now. Open to QA now. Thank you. Yeah?
So you're essentially trying to do product placement within games. And I understand that you're trying to, up front, create your own games and publish your own games.
No. We're not a publisher. We're not creating our own games. So to be very clear on that, apologies if it wasn't clear.
Okay.
We are working with third-party developers and publishers.
So 2 questions. 1, how are you overcoming as a strategy for app developers to be able to put that sort of product placement billboard in their game? And then my second question is, how are you tackling the marketplace for brands to be able to go in and bid on different product placements?
Yeah. And those are 2 great problems, because it is a kind of chicken and egg. You know, this ecosystem only works when you have both ends of the value chain, only scales kind of linearly with both of them. You can't have one advancing against the other. For the games, there's 2 parts to that answer. One, we do have to work at an earlier stage. So I've worked with a number of game publishers. And usually you can soft launch a game, you can go all the way to hard launch without even knowing what your monetization strategy is for ads, right? You can plug in Fungal, you can plug in 13 different ad network things at whatever point. You usually get a monetization expert to do that. Usually around soft launch is when you put that in. We recognize that is one of our challenges is we have to talk earlier. We really need to be talking to the game designer with this company because they have to place areas. They have to recognize at least areas where they would be able to place these into games. For some games it's more obvious, for other games it's not. The really obvious one I showed up there is a card game we're working with. The card back's a really obvious one. You'd already kind of offer a user to do personalization there, for example. A car racing game is a really obvious one. In fact, any sports game is a really obvious place for this kind of stuff. Other games, maybe not so obvious. You know, a Candy Crush, Match 3, probably never going to work, to be honest, and that's fine. You know, we won't address that. The other one is, you know, developers, they're looking for any kind of incremental revenues that they can get. So, you know, from our perspective, if we can prove, and that is an if we can prove that we are generating those incremental revenues, it's an easy sell to them. creating a scalable way. I know that I can get 10, 15, 20, 100 game developers on board. I can go and I can talk to VP marketings of various interesting brands, as we've done already with Wake Energy Drink. We can probably get 20 at that point, but does that scale beyond that? How does that scale? How do they do the targeting? How do they say, I want to be in these games, not these games? We're still trying to figure out how that would actually work. I'm trying to err more on the not giving them that control. I don't want them to have that control. I want them to kind of trust that the system is going to place this in, versus kind of saying, I want it to be in kids games, but not this type of game, not match 3, et cetera. Because otherwise you're relying on them to make this decision, and they'll probably do a bad job of that.
Last question?
Yeah, sorry.
Just I've seen a couple of obstacles. You have to attract both the brands that want to advertise, and you also have to attract the game company.
Mhm.
You're saying that you want to come in early at a game. Well, how do you attract the brand if you're coming into a game company that doesn't have a game published out there? Whereas if you have games that have data, that have users, that have a bunch of exposure, and these brands actually want to get into those games, well, then your challenge is that you now have these games that have these deadlines that they have to meet, and now you have to introduce these resources that have to develop the assets for these brands.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, also include the brands into the product development, and it just delays deadlines.
So one misunderstanding there, and apologize if it wasn't clear here, one misunderstanding is this is not bespoke. This is not saying game developer X, you're going to get Nike and Amazon and some other brand into your game, and vice versa. We're not saying to Nike that you're going to get into these 3 games here. This is a platform. So the idea is, if you worked with any kind of mobile advertising and video advertising platform today, you upload your assets. You upload your 30-second ad, boom, you upload what your budget is, $1 million a month. That's a very minimal one for any kind of minimal brand. And you do a little bit of targeting, and that's kind of it. So that's what we're looking at here. So they're going to upload their assets. The assets are 2D polygons, defined by the IAB already. We're looking at VR and AR assets. Those are going to be the brand assets that we want to work with today, recognizing that will be the future. But you're right, it is still a question of, are these going to scale alongside each other? Like I said, I know that we can get this by hand to a large number, to a minimal number of brands, but a reasonable number of brands where we're making some sort of revenue. But then does it click into a scalable business where we can step away a bit? That is my question. You're cutting me off now.
No,
Last
yeah,
question. Sorry, there's one more question. So
I have to cut that off.
Okay,
sorry.
that's fine. Fair enough.
Thank you so much.
I'll answer the question later. Thanks.
By the way, it's a good thing that I cut people off, because that means people have more questions and there's time. All right, let's do Finlit dating. Well, that.
Thanks. This is the next slide.
This guy. Right here. Okay. You can test it out real quick. Cool. Yeah.
There you go. How you guys all doing tonight?
Good.
Yeah? Can I hear a little louder? How you guys all doing tonight? Good? You awake? Good. All right. Good stuff. We'll get it back. This better not be in my time.
We're good? Sweet.
We're good. All right. I'd like to welcome you to my concept and idea, Finlit Dating. Finlit is an abbreviation for financial literacy. My slogan is upgrade your lifestyle, find financial peace together. All right. So financial literacy, what does that mean? That means that you are focused on a financial lifestyle. You like to look at investments. You like to focus on retirement. You like to look at cryptocurrencies. You like to use credit cards to your advantage. That is the value that I'm looking to bring into the website and bring people to my website with that fundamental foundation. So I'll be bringing equal interest with that financial lifestyle together. Another point of my value that I'm bringing to the website is resources. I want to bring financial literacy resources to finlitdating.com. This includes government resources, and I'll tell you why in just a minute, and private affiliations. And then another value proposition of Finlit Dating as a dating website is that financial communication between your significant other is one of the biggest pillars of marriage when you want to go into the next step of your relationship. You want to make sure you have good communication about your finances. You want to make sure you have good communication about your religion, children, and your family. So the current problems at hand. Right now, the divorce rate is currently 46% of all marriages that are going on every single year in America. 30 to 40% of these divorces are due to financial disagreements. Right now, we are in a stage where financial illiteracy is the biggest problem that America is facing and the biggest reason for a wage gap, not a wage gap, income inequality gap. And in 2008, during the financial crisis, the U.S. Treasury said too many Americans do not have the basic financial skills to develop a budget, understand credit, and everything that relates to financial literacy. So I want to bring that value to my dating website, and as well as keep a quality community of people who like to use that financial lifestyle and share with one another. So the market of people who are interested in personal finance right now, from online forum users, I found about 12 million subscribers, and about 40% of those 12 million use online dating based on statistics from the US government census. So that is equal to 4.8 million users that could potentially use my site and get revenue and profits and find a good match for their significant other. The opportunity, as a dating website, I want to begin as a service which provides news and financial information with an option to match with like-minded people around their area. This news and financial information will be quality news and quality information catered to their exact qualities that they put on their profile. So if they're looking for credit card advantages, then there will be news and financial information based on those credit card advantages. Same with investment accounts, retirement accounts, etc. The opportunity, again, is pair similar people across all different backgrounds of financial literacy to financial experts, all the way to beginners who are just trying to form a budget. And then affiliates and quality resources on finance is the third opportunity. Revenue source and timeline, this is for investors, advertisements, paid subscriptions, affiliates, and data collection. And the timeline right now is I'm really just trying to develop a prototype. And my objective for this dating website is to beat the competition. Offer something that Match.com, Plenty of Fish, and Tinder don't, an intangible gift that keeps on giving. A foundation for communication in the relationship. And the team to make the dream, I need a web designer to help me develop the prototype, a web developer to help with the back end, especially an advisor as well, to prepare for scalability. This includes a web developing advisor and then an advisor for revenue generation and structure and web advertising structure. My secondary and resultant members are going to be an accountant to make sure I have a good cash flow and balance estimates. This needs to be a profitable company. So I need to make sure that every step forward that I make is going to be profitable or dive into our cash pool instead of going into debt. And then my other resultant member that I am going to need is a marketer / social media expert in order to create an online presence and develop my community further and create a great marketing copy and quality community for my website. That's it. All right. Any questions? Yes.
Do you have any idea what kind of budget you're going to need to develop all this?
Yeah, so a good quality, it's the type of website that is going to be based on is called a CRUD website. It's kind of a weird name, but it's called Create, Revise, Upload, and Delete. What?
Create, read, update, delete.
Oh yeah, create, read, upload, and delete. Yeah, and you guys know, so I need to talk to you guys. Thank you. Yes, please, just meet me afterwards. That is going to cost between $25,000 to $75,000 for a quality product. The prototype, I want it to be free and I want it to be visual, and then we can develop a method of pricing after that.
Advertising, did you include advertising or just the development of this product?
That would be included with the advertising, the back end, the security, and everything like that as well, too. Yes?
Phil, I think you've got some good ideas and some good enthusiasm here, but as a person who has used a dating site in the past, financial disclosure, I think, is important if you're talking marriage, but in initiating a relationship with a stranger, I don't want to have my assets and net worth online in my profile. That'll be attracting gold diggers and the like.
I mean, that's true. I mean, you might attract some gold diggers. You might get some good dates.
So there's some distance between.
But here you go. I understand
initiating a relationship and.
I understand what you were talking about, and I understand the
an
problem
element.
that you're coming from. You don't want to have to waste your time on people that just want you for your money. And so my solution to that is to create a quality community based on security and a screen for people who can go on my website in order to make sure that we can minimize the amount of gold diggers that come onto the website and maximize the intelligence, maximize the friendliness and community for sharing that financial literacy together. Any other questions? Yeah. Go ahead. Yeah, you raise your hand first.
I have a question.
Yeah.
You covered the financial part quite well, but the dating is very vague. It does sound like, I agree with the gentleman, it does sound like a club for people who are interested in discussing financial questions, rather than a dating website where men meet women or other men, depending on their preferences. So you might want to work on that. And another, it's more of a comment for you. If you're planning to spend about $25,000 to $75,000 building a quality dating website, including marketing, you might want to reconsider, because I don't think that this is an actual budget that you will be able to fit into. You will need probably more than that.
Yeah, that was a really high estimate that I gave you all, just so you didn't have to question.
A low estimate.
Oh, was it a low estimate?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, so that was a really low estimate.
I would
Again,
go for that.
that's
Probably have to spend more than that.
yeah, that's exactly why I need an advisor experienced in profit structure from online subscriptions and web advertising, and a web developer who's also experienced in that, because they can guide me to the right estimates that I can pitch to investors and tell them the right information.
Last question?
Yes.
To go back to what he was saying and his concern about it, were you saying earlier that there would be some type of filter so that it would be both sexes having financial stability, which I think he was wondering about. There would be a filter.
Yeah.
So that the person would be a gold digger if they're also financially stable, right?
Yeah, there'd be two types of filters that I would consider adding to the website, among others that would I would consider. But the main two that I'm thinking of is a Google two-factor authentication, which means that you are required to have a personal phone number that you access your phone in order to log on to the website. That removes pretty much all bots from accessing the website, but there's still a chance of accessing the website through bots, so that'll be handled with
I just want to
algorithms.
soften his concern, because that's what I thought you were saying, and
Yeah.
that would minimize that.
Yeah, that would take out a lot. That would screen a lot, and then also before people can register for the quiz, for the dating website, I want to include a quiz that quizzes you on financial literacy based on different types of financial questions, and then that also adds a component to how you will be able to match with other people that have the same interests as you do.
Well, but while I move a file from a USB to this, why don't you tell everyone how long you've been in Austin?
So I've been in Austin for 7 days. So I literally just moved here from Seattle, Washington. I didn't pitch some ideas, but I went to a couple entrepreneur events in Seattle, Washington, and I met some awesome coordinators there, awesome moderators, and I'm glad to be a part of Austin's community and meet more and build a bigger network.
Welcome to Austin. All right, we have one last one.
Thank you. Hello, I'm Dan Vogler with Tiny Homes Company. I feel real lucky to have gotten this domain name. I just bought it from a domain squatter. Let me ask a quick survey question. In two groups here, how many people own a home and how many people are renters? Homeowners, raise your hand. It's about 40%. Renters? So it's about 50-50. I presume that most renters would eventually like to be homeowners. The problem here in Austin is that real estate has escalated so much, it's hard to afford a home. You need $400,000 up to get started. So the idea is a tiny home is hopefully going to have a tiny price. My goals of the tiny home company are to build affordable tiny homes. Tiny homes should have a tiny price. We also want to advance lower construction costs and times in building a small home. I come from the solar energy business, so I have a mandate that each home will be solar powered with a battery and create a microgrid and hopefully generate all of its own energy. That's called net zero or net positive if you're making extra energy. And I'm also working on a technology to build modular polyurethane concrete domes. Here's some photographs of tiny homes. Most of them are built on wheeled trailers, like the top two images here. The reason that's done that way is here in Austin, it trumps some of the red tape in our zoning rules. So you could put a trailer in a floodplain, you can put it in a small lot that doesn't have, wouldn't meet the impervious cover rules of grass versus concrete. And when you build it on a wheeled trailer like this, Moby, what happened? Moby? What'd I do?
What did I do? I just went to the bathroom. Damn it, everything fell apart. How long has this been going on for?
No, just seconds. Seconds.
Okay.
Okay, full screen.
Yeah.
So at this point, I'm actually agnostic on the construction technologies. The popular method, again, is on a wheeled trailer. The law is if it has an axle, with or without the wheels removed from the trailer frame, it is not within the jurisdiction of the City of Austin Zoning and Development Department. So that's why many of these tiny homes are taking this route to put it on wheels. There's also an advantage to that. Ultimately, it's a little less cost than any other foundation you might use, be it a wood beam foundation or concrete foundation. This is going to be a little bit less money and have the advantage of being able to pull up stakes in half an hour to an hour. You could disconnect the utilities, hook it up to your truck, and move to another state. So the idea is that you wouldn't pull this around to a new location every week like an RV going to a different KOA campground, but it's just a methodology to reduce the cost and build it at one place, move it to another site. Now, there's also a trend for these ISO shipping containers, and I'm going to be building a couple of these. This is a very modern one built out of two 40-foot containers of 40 feet by 8 feet. That's 320 square feet each, so that's a 640 square foot tiny home. Pretty nice. The reason I got in this business is not only driven by coming from the solar energy business and Austin has emerged as a center of the tiny home business. There are a dozen builders here in Austin who are fully booked or are doing very well at this, and it seems to be a concentration of this tiny home movement here in Austin. There's a company you may have heard of, Casita with a K. Jeff Wilson, he has the moniker Professor Dumpster. He lived in a dumpster for 6 months. Casita has raised $3 million of VC money. They got 20 employees. They built 2 of these homes so far. It's 336 square feet. They have one model. It's $140,000. That's $450 a square foot. That's twice what conventional home building cost. But they have taken down payments and they have an order book of over 100 of them. That's an order book of $14 million. So they're up and running. casitas based here in Austin. I think they're a little bit pricey, but they are very nice. Most of the builders are bringing them in for about $60,000, which I think is still high. I want to do it in the $30,000 to $40,000 range. Now, this is the technology I'm working on. This is actually building out of Japan. This is made out of what's called polycrete. Polycrete, and I've got my own formula for this. It's polyurethane foam, closed cell, which is a great insulator, and strong. That's a two-part epoxy system. You mix it with concrete, water, and bulk paper pulp. So those 5 components together make a very strong, lightweight building material, and that's what this dome house is made of. Right now, the Austin Housing Commission estimates that we need 170,000 homes in Austin alone by 2025 to meet the current demand for housing. Well, all of us working together can't build that many homes, so I don't feel any competitive threat from the other home builders in town. I think there's enough room and demand for all of us. I want to expand beyond that and do community development. I've got 2 projects going on now. One in Kingsland, that's 8 tiny homes. I call that Tiny Kingdom in Kingsland. This is not my site, but a vision of what it could be.
I gave you an extra minute, I'm sorry. I'm gonna cut you off.
You did?
I did, yeah.
Okay.
Exactly. But do you have an ask?
That's what I want to do next. So, any questions about tiny homes? Please.
2. One is your formula that you mentioned earlier, patentable, or is it something anyone could use?
Yes, there is intellectual property in building this polycrete dome. I'm going to build mine out of 16 sections, and it'll be 20 feet in diameter. The form to build this will be built with a 10-foot tall 3D printer that we built ourselves.
Is that more sufficient than the one that you showed the picture of in Japan?
Those are built the same way. They have an exterior stucco coat on them. Right here.
I have a question. Who would be the buyer of a home like this?
Well, probably a first-time home buyer can't afford $300,000 or $400,000. The size of it, typically 240 to 400 square feet, is good for one individual, maybe a couple. There's a sociological aspect to this. If you are in too small of a box, it starts to feel like a jail cell. So tiny homes will adopt changes in our lifestyle and the way we live and the way we use transportation and food and clothing and energy. All will be seen in this tiny home movement as those other elements of living evolve.
So I'm a little confused. What is your ask? I mean, so you've already built the 3D printer, and that's your ask. What is it?
The ask is this slide here. This is a real estate investment. I've got some more land I want to buy. I've got 3 parcels now. I want to grab up these land resources as quick as we can. I have a ½ acre on South Congress where we're building 3 tiny homes now on trailers. I want a shop foreman for that. I needed to hire another guy, a construction foreman for the site in Kingsland. My site on South Congress has room for 2 more trailer builds, so I'm inviting other do-it-yourselfers who want to build their own tiny home to utilize my land and our knowledge in the community we're building there. And sometime in 2018, I'm working with another group to produce a big tiny home expo to advance this movement here in Austin. Guy in the back?
I can see where the construction and the materials will be fairly cheap. You said 60,000, I believe, or under to build the thing, but in real estate, the property itself is not here in Austin. I don't see. Now you said you got a parcel on Congress, and even if you could build these things for under 60,000, I know you can go get a pre-manufactured home for 39,000 that has 4 bedrooms and this and that. How are you going to mathematically put the model together to make the real estate and the unit fit financially?
I have another presentation on this. Here in Austin, yes, land resources are expensive and the deal killer to the economics. But there is a workaround. It's called ADU, or Ancillary Dwelling Unit. This allows us to add a tiny home in the backyard of an existing single-family home that's zoned for one home on that lot can now accommodate 2 homes. And there are some rules to make that happen, but this allows you to not buy the land, but as 2 of the builders on my property, they've cut a deal with their landlord to move out of the main house and just lease the backyard. So this can be accomplished in Austin with a ground lease instead of land purchase. Yes.
Last question, please.
Me?
Yes.
Well, part of the incentive of buying is equity, eventually for the homeowner. How does one build equity if it seems like most of the cost is going into the development part?
Well, you would own the home, and there's a subtlety to this. 400 square feet or larger by HUD rules is called a manufactured home. If it's less than 400 square feet, or 399 or less, it's called an RV. So these tiny homes are classified as an RV. Reason being, a manufactured home or mobile home is seen as kind of cheap and made of poor, toxic materials that are depreciating from day one. Whereas a tiny home in the right setting with the right aesthetics is something that's going to maintain value.
Cool, thank you. I'll give it to you in 1 second. Thank you, everyone, for showing up. I hope you enjoyed Marc's keynote. He can be found on Twitter at Marc1919. And also, he's going to send out the slides, and we'll provide you guys with the slides, with all the resources in Austin. Otherwise, if you want to pitch, please talk to me or Johan. And just curious, would you like more specific pitch feedback after pitches, in between pitches, or just questions for the audience, from the audience?
Would you have time for both?
I think this is more mental.
I don't know.
Yeah,
So,
because
yeah.
you'd have to squeeze that in.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
Cool. Any other feedback? Did you like something, not like something? Did you hate me, not like me? Whatever.
We love you.
Oh, so sweet. All right, ladies and gents, thank you very much. If there's beer, please finish it. Otherwise, please talk among yourselves. Thank you.
I'm Tanya. Can you talk to me for like an hour, like several minutes? Thank you in person. Oh, good. I'm still at
Thank you.
Of course.
We need to cut that off to eject it.
Yeah, let me do that.
So you're going to be running the show now, not Johan?
I'll come in and out. So,
You get more style.
Yeah,
very nice.
More panache.
No, thank you for pitching.
Oh, yeah, and I understand that.
It's good practice.
Yes, that's what it is. How are you doing?
Roundup.
Gold Roundup. Dude, how are you? Yeah, well, I'm sorry. What did you do again?
I'm in energy efficiency.
Okay.
Domain expert.
Okay.
Just wanted to thank you for that.
No, good. I love your feedback. I think it's very valuable. You should keep
Yeah,
doing
I
that.
think, sorry, Jeff. I think that people would actually appreciate more feedback from guys like Marc.
Yeah, I asked him,
On
he's like,
what-
no, yeah.
Rather than guys like me or somebody else.
I like your feedback.
Yeah, well, I like to
Next time I'll tell you to
people.
shut up. I'm kidding.
No,
I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
We're just chilling with that.
Yeah.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
You said that if you want to pitch, you should come to you.
Absolutely. Yeah.
What's the procedure?
Moby at the Fire Show. Moby at thefireshow.com. You can email me, and if you just do it 2 weeks before you want to pitch.
Well, the thing is that I arrived to Austin on Saturday. And
Did you move here?
leaving. No, actually we are here, like me and 10 other colleagues are here from Europe.
Okay.
Because we were selected as like top entrepreneurs from Europe, and we came here under the utility program of the US government, Department of State. So we have like 2 weeks to learn as much as possible about the ecosystem here in Austin, to pitch our idea, to get feedback, to go back home and work on it. So. We have 2 weeks.
Okay, email me? I wish I had a card, but please email me and we'll set something up and do that.
Okay, perfect.
Sounds good.
Great.
Okay, we'll be at the fire shop.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
Did you say the charts were going to be sent out on?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I'm starting to write it down.
Yeah. It's always a good thing, though. Yeah. What's up, Jeff? Why did you? It's a great question. I work here at a capital. No, I work at Dell. Yeah, so I'm not a U.S. citizen, so I'm just gonna waiting it out until my green card. Yeah. So
That's a problem. One of my best friends.
Yeah.
He's complained many hours to me about the process.
It can be a little bit, man. It can be a little, but you know.
I empathize.
Oh, well, thank you very much. But you know, otherwise, I don't know. Felt like I needed the platform, and I just came here once or twice, talked to Johan, and since I heard 200 pitches at that time, I was like, hey, I'll be a pitch coach. And that turned into this, and then did more pitching workshops and helped someone win, and it was like, okay, cool. Now I'm doing this on the side. I don't make money off of this. I literally can't make money, so it's kind of just fun.
What about the fire show? When started that? I didn't know you were. I put a note in my phone. I'm gonna check this out.
Oh, sweet! Awesome. The first episode is out Friday. Yes.
So this is brand new.
Yes, I used to do the Austin Fire Show. It's almost the same logo. And I stopped it after a year because I thought it's time to kind of move out of Austin, like have a broader audience. Because
Where are they?
iTunes. So you can look at the last one, Austin Fire Show. It's got 28, 29 episodes on there.
What if I'm in Detroit? What's the best?
Oh, I use Podcast Addict. I love it. I love it. It's good. It works really well. I don't listen to a lot of podcasts. It's
Me
easy.
either. Everyone's like,
everyone's on
buzzword.
Yeah, I know.
Podcast.
I know.
Oh, if you're an entrepreneur, you need to have one.
Yeah.
And you need to be this room or on the blog. Like, who has time for all these people? Yeah.
I know. So I like Tim Ferriss the most.
Yeah.
It takes me like 2 weeks to finish a 2-hour episode. It's like, fuck. So I got you.
I don't have an hour and a half of you.
Yeah. You were here?
No, I eventually would love to work out of Capitol. I work out of Atmosphere, East Side. And I arrange something with Trent, the owner, where I'm an ambassador. Like, I'm just on call.
Okay.
To take shifts.
Okay.
I give people tours and answer pricing questions.
Holy shit, that's great. That's awesome. So the company. Good to see you. I'm in Rob Adams' class right now. He's scary, man. Have you guys met each other?
No, Jeff. Ari, nice to meet you.
Yeah,
So did you sing Happy Birthday? Anything else?
No, someone sang a Twinkle, Twinkle Star. So he was in the grad. No, you were in MBA.
I was MSTC.
MSTC. He was in the grad program that I'm in right now. So we have a professor who makes you sing if you're late.
Get out of here.
The thing you don't know is I worked for Rob for a year. So.
Oh, really? For TDL? Yes, that's correct.
He's a big teddy bear.
All right, man. I'll see you next month.
Yeah, absolutely. I look forward to seeing you. And find me on Facebook or something.
Okay.
Cool. All right, take care, man.
Hey, but thanks again for help.
Absolutely. No. I like your style on stage. I didn't understand what you were doing until like the last 2 minutes. But you know,
Yeah, right.
You gotta start.
Yeah, exactly. It's my first time, so whatever.
Yeah,
it was fun.
Yeah, I'm glad you did it.
Thanks. You're a great host.
Oh, thank you very much.
Your personality. Run this very well.
Let's just make it up. But thank you very much. Did you get a chance to talk to Marc?
I'm about to.
Got 15 minutes.
What are you up to?
I'm unemployed. I just finished up the TVL, so kind of looking to see what the fuck to do next.
What are you doing?
See if he's going to show up at Bunker on Tuesday.
You were in the military, right?
So I went from military to MSTC to TVL, and now I'm kind of like, all right, let's find a path. Because I have one path that are interesting.
I wish there was something that could tell us, hey, you do this with us, you're like, we'd be happy, it made me rich.
Well, for what you would really be happy.
But if there was a guarantee chance that you start
So what is your
Of course. Always going bigger. Now the fire. Absolutely. I like that, man. Thank you very much. Yeah. Do please check it out. Yeah. I'll let you send on email about that. Yeah.
For me,
Give this back.
usually guys to the left. So that got me.
Right, yeah. It's not meant to be a quantitative thing, it's just sort of a qualitative analysis. People who are doing one thing aren't doing the other, and people who are doing the other thing aren't doing the same. So we want to create a company that does both.
So what do you
But after practice, you think it's marketing Yeah, I think so. That brief demonstration I did was just to show, just a very rudimentary sort of idea behind it. But I think first and foremost, I'm looking for a partner to help kind of navigate the legality of it, being able to access that data from other websites and build out the business strategy.
You might want to I didn't see your page. Scraping websites.
Yeah, a lot of mine had to do with aggregation. So basically, the only one I had time for was a dating site. Well, I was doing that was an example of some contract work I've just been doing in the past few months for people. Scraping and doing that. So one of them was for a company, sort of a friend of a friend. He's creating a company for custom insurance for jewelers. So you want me to scrape, all the jewelers on Facebook?
Yeah, but the thing is that you can do it. Whether the permission which can be passed on from the original file.
Yes, I'm writing a paper.
Well, I think it is. I think it is, though. I think that is a selling point. Because, most of the dating sites, they don't have, like I said in the presentation, there's no good central aggregator for dating sites. So, just, that's, one of the great, one of the value things about the company is that it brings in maybe the top 5 or 10 different dating sites.
How do you know which John Smith on a particular website to
I don't quite understand it.
Okay. There are many John Smiths. So for a user to aggregate there, he has to provide Google login information for all the websites.
Not necessarily, because it's all public information.
No. Think of it this way. You are John Smith, and I'm John Smith. How does your website know?
Well, there's other unique identifiers besides me.
You're going to use unique identifiers.
Yeah, and most websites have that built in. Most websites, there's going to be some sort of, it's not going to be just, John Smith equals John Smith across the board. I think most websites.
So that's one of the things
Anything. Yeah, I appreciate the.
Yeah, the platform will be much because there's an idea in our situation. So they can ask very vividly. And the thing that I learned is that plenty of
the execution. And if you have one person, like, unicorns and investors buying into ideas, it's very rare. They don't include the middle. Don't buy it, they buy everything. What you're doing, you're very much finding don't go into
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I know that was my problem back in the day. I was just doing everything myself.
But they are now more targeted. I can click here and show you this. I can look at this.
Right. I think right now.
Right.
And your next pitch you're doing, show it.
So the way we started right now. Right. So you can have it.
Yeah. Thank you. That's really valuable feedback.
So you go to buy your ticket.
Your idea of other things very unique idea. That's probably the unique to know when you come up. And the master board, the big
right now,
and the niche, and your niche is not extending the efficiency. Your niche is
a library of hobbies. What you can do
Yeah, and that's not the only thing. There's a couple of things, but yeah.
I would be more than willing to give my access to my user permits. That's how they do user authentication in mobile games, for example. Facebook authentication. And the application has confirmation. They have a
Right.
Yeah, get me from my
Yeah.
So we have to take over the
Yeah.
Eventually,
yeah, that's great, man. Yeah. Thank you. Thanks so much for your advice. That's I really think about that. You know, I should. I should have spent more time building a more successful demo. I mean,
you will. Your 20th demo, like one of the first.
Right, it is. Yeah. And to be honest, this was. Thank you.
Exactly. That's exactly the point. Right. So we provide.
Ideas are great, but you need a little bit of information. You have this great advantage.
Now, you can build over the years. We have probably have better what we want to do is
oh yeah.
Our product is really going to be the package of content. So we're going to do a lot of content creation. So at the beginning, we're going to collect user data to develop specific content that we're interested in. Netflix. You see that you have some technical Netflix.
And you're a technical co-founder of looking for everybody.
That's interesting. Okay, because I had the perception that there was mostly developers the previous times I've had career. Right. That's great. Thank you.
So that's what we're currently negotiating with. Right now, the deal we have with the studios is for content that is up to 24 months old. So this is quite
I've been done for a year. So I have enough money saved up. I'm a lean guy. I mean, I can probably self-finance this project. So, but yeah.
If we get packaged so that, that could be another consideration that you can be, you can see that you feel that's really helpful for access to one.
Do you think, I mean, would you recommend that or pursuing my own ideas and trying to find well, I do love my ideas. I do. Of course you do. I do. I don't have a card right now.
Need help with anything?
No.
You're good? You want to do it? Sorry? Do you want to tell me? With what? Just tell people to leave. I would just say, guys, time to go.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's
yes. Ladies and gents, it is time to start walking outside. You can go to the bar downstairs. Alcohol over there is not free. So take yours if you haven't finished it. Yes. Thank you for coming, and we're going to start moving out. Thank you.
What?
Yeah. What?
What, Bobby?
What?
We hang out here all night?
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, from your Wisconsin, my father works in Charleston.
Yeah, you're one of those.
I wanted to get into that one. That was kind of my second move. Yeah? Yeah, the idea is that there's basically one main competitor. So there's tons of manufacturers, industrial companies that have surplus equipment. Have you ever heard of your asset? Have you heard of salvage sale? Salvage sale, you want to find out about it? SalvageSale.com. Yeah, well, there are competitors. There's
no, I'm saying that guy's a good friend of mine. That's all.
There's one surplus.
Absolutely, Toy Man's are cool.
Keys.
Good?
Yeah, we're good.
Find your keys?
They're probably not that good.
Your stuff, right?
It is, yeah.
You should ask for the video.
Yeah, I should. Talk to Nick about that?
Talk to Johan about that.